I'd like to go back to the issue of recreation just a bit. Mr. Violante, you in your promotional literature address that issue. You talk about planned growth, and one of those things that you plan to have growing is recreational facilities. What specifically did you have in mind with respect to recreational facilities that do not exist now?
Well, one thing that I would strongly encourage, and I believe the city is moving in that direction, is the 100% access for handicapped people in the Allen's Pond area. I believe that's something important that we can use in this area. Recreation, another area would be the baseball. I'd like to see that somehow saved and get baseball here to Bowie. I'd like to see some type of functions for our young other than the sports activity, something that will get them together on weekends and evenings, that will provide a place for them to have some safe, enjoyable fun.
Mr. Jenkins, you want to speak to that?
I'd like to just add a couple of points to what Joe said. We have always placed a great deal of emphasis on recreation, which is part of the reason Bowie is such a great place to raise a family. I think, though, too, we have to focus on our population and our age of our population in terms of that portion which is getting older and perhaps deserves a lot of attention as far as passive recreation is concerned. I think that's an area where we need to concentrate as well. Indeed, we do have an accessibility program for Allen Pond, which will make it 100% disabled accessible.
Well, that's pretty much, it's been our impression that the recreation facilities that the city has concentrated on have been sports-oriented. And somehow recreation covers a wider field than that. And do you have any points on that, Mr. Aylshire?
I've been speaking to some of the folks under recreation. We have a lot of fishermen, and they would like to make sure that the Allen Pond area is being kept. There was a talk about it being dredged and kept clean, being restocked. And this is what we should be continually doing. I realize we have wildlife that do land there and participate as well as our citizens, but I think it's we need to continue to maintain what we have now, especially with the economic downturn. And I agree that when I went to Bowie High School, a lot of the last week when I spoke to a lot of the kids, they said that we would like to see other recreational activities other than soccer. They'd like to see some basketball.
No, it's still sports. How about chess, Mr.
Lacrosse. You know, one said lacrosse. They said like that they did in lacrosse.
Mr. Mayor.
Let me say that I always considered, and I think I know where you're getting at. We're talking about arts and recreation, and this council for numerous years has supported every year in the budget a facility for Bowie High School, what do you call it? Amphitheater, not an amphitheater, but
auditorium.
Auditorium for Bowie High School. And it's been put in the budget every year, and it always gets taken out of the capital budget because of the lack of funds. But the opportunity, we do have the Mini Arts Center in White Marsh, which is very heavily used, but an opportunity to expand, and I think that's what you're looking for. There is just an absolutely outstanding facility at Bowie State University called the Martin Luther King Auditorium. It is a gorgeous facility, which Dr. Lyons has told me many times he's willing to work with the city. So if we can find the proper people who want to use it for proper uses, we do have the ability to expand to that, and I think that would be an excellent.
But I mean, no one has elaborated a plan in this particular area. Mr. Twigger is anxious to talk.
I think what you're really after here is a proposal or a program for children who are either gifted or talented, and that they can show their wares in terms of the theater, the ballet, the dance, chess tournaments, organizational type of events that these children can participate in.
Well, not only that, let me begin. There's also a seniors part in this whole thing, you see. I know we have a senior center. That's a pretty narrow gauge thing that we have here. Does the city have some kind of a policy directing itself towards this recreational area, away from, a little bit, away from the sports that have taken most of our attention, and what Mayor Logue has said, which is recent years going a little bit towards the performing arts, particularly at Bowie State? Richard Dahms.
Thank you very much. I think we need to go back to basics in government here in Bowie. You're looking for some comprehensive plan for recreation. When I grew up in Bowie, we used to get together and go out to the ball field at Somerset Elementary School in my backyard, play ball. There was no government program to do that. I used to play at Boswell Field, just unorganized. I think we have to start going back to volunteerism and back to individuality.
Are you saying then, Richard, that what the city has been doing in the sports area, they should retrench?
What I'm saying is continue what you're doing, but don't look for government for all the answers. Some of the answers come upon us ourselves individually.
Okay.
Mr. Oliver is just
Thanks.
straining at the
I
bit.
think Bowie's done a pretty good job with the Boys and Girls Club. That's been sort of the backbone of this community ever since I moved into the community, and it continues to do well. But one thing I believe you might not find is some real work from this group to develop strategic issues and to manage the community towards those issues. And one may be our arts and culture. And as we move into more appreciation for that, sometimes as we get older, we appreciate it more. It should be convenient, and it should be planned. We have some, but I'm not sure if we're expressing the leadership role that we could do, and if we could develop that by getting together and deciding on certain issues, and we consider certain things strategic issues. If the community affects it, we would explore it.
I think if I may make a comment, Bert, you said that maybe it's because we're getting a little bit older. Speaking for myself, I suppose that's what motivates my part of the question.
Now, as someone who's rapidly joining that group of one thing I think we've lost sight on, the thing that makes the city go is all the volunteer programs that are in here now. We also have a volunteer program with the Community Recreation Committee, which I happen to be the liaison between this group and that group. That group, about 2 years ago, initiated at our request a survey of all our recreational needs for the rest of the century. They contacted people, looked for preferences, tried to form priorities, and came up with a list of what we need now, not only for active but for passive recreation, and came up with a priority list and a funding. That data was then fed into our master plans for White Marsh, for Black Sox, for the other recreational centers, and that's what we're trying to do. The thing that surprised me about that group was that the one that I thought would be high up on the list, the swimming pool, public realm pool, came down to the bottom of the list. But we do have a committee that looks into that at the request of this council. I think it's been very effective.